Today's presentation, I'm going to give you a glimpse into what consumers want and how manufacturers are responding. To begin, under the health and wellness umbrella, we're going to look at current consumer attitudes and drivers, including food and beverage buzzwords. Then we're going to briefly review what's trending and see how brands and services are responding. To conclude, we're going to examine the future of food being driven by technology. So hyper-aware consumers are internet savvy, and they're expecting a lot more from their products. They're scrutinizing ingredients. The consumers know these words. They don't necessarily understand them, but it's top of mind. I think it just really shows some of the confusion going on. 7% don't understand it at all. This consumer data reflects consumer attitudes towards general health and wellness. 27% of millennials are more responsive than the average consumer to the health packaging. 33% believe that functional foods and drinks can be substituted for their medicine. And I think that's a good example of how we're changing our attitudes towards food and nutrition. Clean labels and free-from claims are top of mind for consumers. From a consumer's perspective, Mintel's market research reveals that 84% of American consumers are buying free-from foods because they seek more natural or less processed foods. GMOs, from a consumer perspective, are a hot topic, and regardless of consumers' understanding or knowledge, it's becoming important to them. 58% of consumers deem GMO-free claims as most important, and 35% rank GMO-free as one of their top 3 concerns. In 2014, Health Focus International surveyed 16 major consumer markets. People's fear of GMOs seem to be universal and global, and that 87% of the consumers globally think that non-GMO foods are somewhat or a lot healthier. So this is further evidence that the GMO concern is surpassing other ingredient concerns such as sugar, sodium, hydrogenated oils, and artificial ingredients. According to Instantly's research, consumers are wary about artificial ingredients and are skeptical of large manufacturers producing natural alternatives. Food color and artificial colors are another concern amongst consumers. About 4 in 10 global respondents say that the absence of artificial colors and flavors, as well as foods made from vegetables and fruits, are very important. Here are some more consumer attitudes towards synthetic colors. With so many free-from claims to choose from, we're seeing cage-free and free range becoming more important. In terms of ethics, you see that 70% of consumers sometimes, often, or always consider a company's ethics when they're purchasing a product. You boil it down to it, a lot of it is that these consumer attitudes are being driven by this underlying issue of food safety. This concludes the section on consumer attitudes, and now we're going to briefly look at what's trending and how some of these attitudes are influencing consumer products and services. Consumers have been very vocal about their desire for real and natural products and are increasingly distrustful of additives, preservatives, artificial colors, and flavors found in prepackaged goods. So recognizing the demand for less processed, better-for-you products, here are just a few examples of the many initiatives happening from large consumer packaged goods manufacturers. I just thought this was a really good comparison. I think it epitomizes the natural trend. To conclude the consumer section of attitudes and drivers towards the marketplace and what's going on, why is flavor and specialty ingredient suppliers, consumer packaged goods manufacturers, and those involved with regulatory should you care? Well, first and foremost, consumer demand for less processed, better-for-you products that are sustainably sourced is going to continue. It is not going anywhere. And that health and wellness lifestyle is a lifestyle now. It's not just a trend. According to the National Restaurant Association's annual What's Hot 2015 culinary forecast, these are the top 10 trends. Root-to-leaf cooking is the evolution of this trend, and we're seeing chefs strive to consume every part of the plant so there's no waste. And here are some recent examples of how that trend is evolving. It is reported that as much as 1 billion pounds of fresh produce go to waste every year. The U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Environmental Protection Agency announced a joint effort to help reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. So these are just a few examples of stores and restaurants that are popping up to either have minimal or zero waste initiatives. There's been a lot of activity around food waste and byproducts and even art. So not only consumers are paying attention to what's in their food and how to reduce food waste, but now they're more interested in knowing the type of packaging in which their food is wrapped in and whether it's sustainably sourced or not. There's a lot of activity going on in the marketplace. In addition to sustainable packaging and waste reduction, there's been a big concern about the growing population and the world's consumption habits. So many developing countries are changing their behavior and incorporating more Westernized diets, including meat, dairy, and other foods that are grown agriculturally. To address the growing population, there are some different unique agricultural initiatives. Originally driven by the vegan and vegetarian lifestyles, plant-based diets are becoming more mainstream. Millennials are a bit more aligned with the food movement. Here are some just examples of plant-based foods, and a lot of it is being explored because of the protein properties. Looking for an alternative source, both sustainable and good for protein, we see several startups exploring cricket flour. There are a variety of companies out there that are focusing on not only breeding food-grade insects to meet the demand, but there's a slew of organizations promoting eating insects. Looking at food from a science, technology, and design perspective, there's a whole new world out there. Dutch industrial designer Chloe Rutsveld developed the Edible Growth Project. She wanted to show that technology could be used at its best that would highlight natural, healthy, and sustainable food made possible with aspects of nature, science, technology, and design. Experiencing scent and taste through installations is becoming the popular medium. It's interactive, it's personal, and it's experiential. And museums that specialize in food with interactive exhibits are having their moment. To conclude, once again, why should you care? Well, the future of food is going to be driven by technology, and the second half of this presentation just highlighted a few of the many initiatives happening. And in addition to the regulatory challenges that you're facing, there's always going to be new bases, new applications, and new consumer expectations that you're going to have to manage. Thank you.